Hi everybody, this is Travel Talks with me, Tony. And I thought that for the first episode it would be great, especially during the holiday seasons, to talk about Europeanly known, probably worldwide known as the European city of Christmas market. So the idea to talk about Vienna came due to the fact that I live here. Vienna was one of my favorite cities in the whole wide world. It was back in the day my dream city, and I moved here because I just loved the city so much. Aesthetically it's an amazing city, but I think as somebody that does experience day-to-day life here, I want to be honest, Vienna during the holidays, or like Vienna starting middle of November, it's up until end December, it is a crazy tourist season. Very crowded. Everybody is super condensed in the inner city of Vienna. Beautiful in a lot of other places other than the inner city, which most of the tourism happens there. I do not think that it's the best area in Vienna, and especially if you are visiting Vienna, specifically Vienna for the first time during Christmas, you want to visit the markets, right? And it might seem overwhelming because there are happening markets everywhere in Vienna. You don't really know where to start and how to approach this, I have composed kind of a list. Actually, I want to comment and give my opinion and recommendations based on personal opinion, of course, about each Christmas market that is happening this year, 2025, in Vienna. Mind you, I do have to mention that the markets that I will be discussing right now are the ones that are organized by the city of Vienna. There are a lot of other independent organized markets that are happening, but I think those are just, independent societies, church-based, but I will be mostly discussing the list from Stadt Wien. And I'll try to give you not necessarily a list, but bullet points of what I think is worth visiting and worth doing in Vienna during winter time or around the holiday season. So first of all, on my list, because yes, I do have a list in my notebook with points that I want to make here. The markets, the Christmas market. So the city of Vienna has a great website. Honestly, I think administratively it's a great website where you can find a bunch of information. They have a list of all the Christmas markets that are happening in Vienna on Bezirk. In Vienna, Bezirk is basically an arrondissement or a sector in the city. It's basically sectors in the city. And I will leave all of the things that I'm talking about in the description. All the links, all the lists, they'll be down. So there are, by Bezirk, you have all the Christmas markets. And they are actually mentioning that I think this year there are how many? There are 14 markets organized by the city, which is beautiful. We love that. So in the first district is the inner city of Vienna. We have the Christkindlmarkt am Rathaus, which is, I think, the most popular. Every TikTok video, picture, whatever you see with the light spectacle, the skating, the market in general, it's from Rathaus. That market is very filled with tourists. In my opinion, I think it's a very nice market. I think there are a lot of activities to do. I do like that how it is actually made. You have in the middle all the actual stands with market and food, things to buy, and you have on one side the park with the lights, and you can see the light spectacle. They have the big heart that moves and opens, I don't know what, I forgot. Very beautiful to see. Everybody will be there and film it. And on the other side you have some food and drink stands from what I remember, and a skating. The skating in the Rathaus market is very popular because it has kind of different pathways in the park. It's a very nicely done skating park, but again, crowded. If you're here during the week, try and go. I think it's very nice and very fun. But you have to keep in mind, the Rathaus market, super crowded. Very crowded. It's beautiful. I think the Rathaus market usually has the nicest Christmas tree because it's in front of the town hall. Rathaus is the mayor's office, the town. Okay, I do think I have it on my list as a favorite because, as I said, it gives the full experience. It really gives the full experience of a Christmas market in Vienna. The only minus that I do find, but that's with most of the markets here, they don't have music. Music is virtually non-existent. There are like 1 or 2 markets in which there is music, but still, to finish off, I think it's a nice, good choice, and I think everybody is actually going to the Rathaus one. Okay, the other on the list, and the first, is the Alt-Wiener Christkindlmarkt, which I don't have it on my favorites list, but what I will mention, this is a pretty small market. It's in the first district. What I have to mention for the first district markets, these are very easily for you to see all in one day. You have to be very aware that most of the Christmas markets in Vienna close at 9. So if you want to see them, you have to do your planning according to that. The Alt-Wiener Christkindlmarkt, it has only 57 stands. I do have to say, in my opinion, it's not very special. It's nice. I remember that I had a very nice langosh here and it wasn't that expensive, but this was like 2-3 years ago. The prices have like gone up. It's nothing special in my opinion, but it's in the first district. It's accessible. You can actually sit on your way from the market at the house to the other ones, or vice versa. Super achievable, but nothing super special. The Weihnachtsmarkt am Hof, it's a bit bigger. Again, I don't think there is anything kind of special about it. You see, because this is organized by Stadt Wien, most of the stands that you will find at one market, you'll find at all the other ones, usually. I do like the piazza where it actually is located, the Am Hof market. The space is good and it's central, you know, like accessibility is very nice with this market. Then we have the Weihnachtsdorf am Stephansplatz, which it's very small. There's not a lot to see, but it's incredibly central. This is exact at the Stephansdom, which I do think that it's a must-see in Vienna, inside and outside. If you have time to go in, go. I think it's very pretty. You don't have to pay to go up, but just go in to see the church itself. It's very nice. The market outside is really nothing special in my opinion, but accessibility is very easy. You will see it. Like, you cannot be in Vienna in the Christmas time without seeing the Christmas market at Stephansplatz. I think the context is nice, it's super accessible, it's just not the best, you know, it doesn't impress me. I'll move to the third Bezirk, where we have 2 markets here. We have the Weihnachtsdorf at Schloss Belvedere, which is the palace. Schloss in German is basically palace. I think that if you like art and like classical, I think the Schloss Belvedere is a very nice museum to visit. The gardens are nice. Winter is not really their moment, but it's nice. The Christmas market here, I actually went last week with my boyfriend and I wasn't impressed. It's very small. There is no music and I have no idea why there is no music, considering that it's an area in which people don't really live. Like in the first line, the first street, so the first line of buildings is just embassies and consulates. So no Christmas carols. Crazy for me. The stands are not incredibly special. There's nothing that you will not see at other markets, but if you are around the area, you know, why not, but don't make a stop specifically for this. Then we're going to move to the Xmas market. This is, from what I can see, the biggest Christmas market that is going to be in Vienna this year, but this is a covered close doors. Like, this is happening in an event space, so this is not going to be outside. I've never been to this one. I plan on going this year because I'm very curious to see what is here. They have like 186 stands, from which 15 are food, but still, I'm very curious. Honestly, if you don't have enough time, I wouldn't prioritize this one, but this sounds interesting to me and I think it would be interesting to see. I'm sure that here you'd find most of the things that you would want to buy at a Christmas market. We're going to move to the 4th Bezirk and we have the Kunstadvent von der Karlschurch. A must-see in my opinion in Vienna, inside and outside. I think that the market here really suffers from people not really going to it. Every time I've been, it wasn't that crowded, but I think it's aesthetically and how it is organized in the urbanistic layout and landscape that the park of Karlskirche has. I think it's the nicest organized, and I think it's pretty child friendly from what I remember last year. I put it in my favorites due to the landscape and location. It's a very nicely organized market. I've always thought that it's nice. I wouldn't necessarily prioritize it, but you're for sure going to be in the area, so why not at the same time. Now we're going to move to the 7th Bezirk with my personal favorite Christmas market due to its kind of like a typical form, a typical organization. And I'm talking about the Weihnachtsmarkt am Spiegelberg, which has this kind of like village structure of a Christmas market, which I think it's great. It gives a lot of authenticity, and as of stand sellers, I feel that here you will find the most handmade craft. In terms of shopping, it's my favorite market. In terms of organization, it's my favorite market because it's in an area where the buildings are lower and smaller, and it's organized on parallel streets, and it kind of gives a path, not necessarily labyrinth, but it creates this kind of path idea that you're walking through a small village with stands everywhere. I think it's very nice. From time to time it has music, but not really. And here you'll find I think the stand, the drinks, the punch stands at Lola and Lolo, they have very, very great drinks. In the 9th Bezirk, we have the Weihnachtsdorf am Campus der Universität Wien. Short, this is the AKH one. It's not incredibly easy accessible, like it's not ultra central, but it's still kind of central. In my opinion, this is the fun market I could go. It doesn't have a lot of stands, but this is fun. So I have it in my favorite. If the Spiegelberg was my favorite due to shopping and drinks and path experience, the AKH market is my favorite due to fun elements. Here you always have music. Here you always have people having fun. You have here like kind of like curling, which is very, very fun. The sellers that are here, they are still handmade craft sellers, which I think it's very nice. I'm not sure if this is the most kid-friendly market, but this is the funnest you will have here. A bunch of people having fun, you'll have a bunch of people getting drunk and having fun. The drinks are very good everywhere here. It is, I think, the only Christmas market that closes latest at 11. Very nice. I think this is a very fun market. If you want to see like a different vibe of Christmas market in Vienna, I definitely recommend the AKH. In the 10th Bezirk, we have the Adventmarkt Favoriten. I have never been. This is in an only pedestrian area. I have never been. It seems like it's a very small one because it has 19 stands. I'm planning this year to go at every Christmas market I have never been, so we will see. If you're in the area, or like if you're like taking your accommodation to be in the area, go and see it. I wouldn't make a point into going to see it. The same for the one in the 12th Bezirk, which is the Weihnachtszauber Meidlingplatz. My German is not great. Again, I think I haven't been. I will go. It has 10 stands, which means that it's a very, very, very small one. And I have an inkling suspicion that this is either in the piazza in front of their Meidling shopping center or close to the train station. It doesn't really spike my interest. In the 13th Bezirk, we have a market that I think it's, again, incredibly popular for everybody visiting Vienna. It's the Weihnachtsmarkt Schloss Schönbrunn. Again, I do think that the Schönbrunn Palace is worth visiting, but keep in mind, if you visited Schönbrunn like 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, it's not the same. They have closed a lot of things. I visited Schönbrunn I think 4 times at this point, and each time I visited, something else was closed and I couldn't see it. Like the last time, I was so shocked that it's only like part of a floor. What is that? The market here, very nice. This market, to me, really gives me the feeling of a Christmas market in Vienna, you know? The palace is the biggest one in Vienna, from what I know. It doesn't have, like, crazy stands, sellers. Like, there's nothing incredibly interesting. The vibe is very nice. It has music, but from what I remember, it's kind of like classical Viennese music. But still, I appreciate, like, music. You will see that. I think you already understand. I'm kind of like on the fact that there is no music at the markets here. The Schönbrunn one, it is in my favorite due to the atmosphere, food, and decent shopping. The food is very nice. I think you can here find a lot of good foods. I recommend the baked potato with things on top. I think that's very nice. And the langosh, but the langosh, in my opinion, you need to get it with garlic and cheese and the sour cream. No in between. But yeah, atmosphere talking, the Schönbrunn market is very, very beautiful, and it gives you this kind of like Christmas feeling. I like the Christmas trees because they kind of like shield the market from the palace and from the outside space, and the fact that this is happening in one of the small piazzas at the palace, I don't know, I feel like it gives a very, very nice aesthetical atmosphere. And accessibility talking, it is decently accessible. It's not very central, but it is accessible. You can go here with the metro very easily. What I do have to mention at all the markets that I'm talking about, you need to have cash. You need to have cash in the city of Vienna, specifically at the Christmas markets. If the shopping stands, some of them could have the POS to pay with card, the drinks or the food. They don't really have that, so you have to have cash with you. And at every market organized by Stadt Wien, the drinks cost a certain price and you have to pay a deposit for the cup. So keep that in mind. Usually the deposit is between 3 and 5 euro. So plan accordingly. Then in the 18th Bezirk we have the Weihnachtsmarkt am Park. I have never been. I am very curious. I don't have any opinion. It's not in a touristical area, but if you are getting your accommodation around the area, definitely visit. I can see that it's just a small one, so yeah, I don't know. And then we have in the 21st Bezirk, it's the Weihnachtsmarkt am Franz Jonas-Platz. Again, a very small one. I have never been, and it's kind of far from where I live. I have nothing to say about this one. These were all of the markets mentioned by the city of Vienna, organized by them. So my recommendations are definitely the Spittelberg one for shopping, drinks and food. We have the Altes AKH, which is for overall fun, activities, music and light. Then we have the Rathaus, which is the full experience of a Viennese Christmas market. Fan favorite, very crowded. We have the Karlskirche one, that I think it's nice for the landscape, location and kid friendly. And the Schönbrunn market, which is going to be the best for atmosphere, food and decent shopping. Now that we have markets settled, next on my list I put walks. I think it's great to just walk around the city and admire it, look at the architectural style. I mentioned parks. We have the Augarten, and I think it's a pretty nice park, and there is a Flachturm. A small piece of history, throughout Vienna there are a lot of Flachturms, which were basically served as the bunkers in the Forsaken time. These were, from what I remember, the Nazi bad people's bunkers. Piece of history, you know. Now they're kind of integrated in the urban fabric, which I think is nice. The Belvedere Park, which is nice, and the Stadtpark, which is pretty central. It's not anything wow, but it's, you know, nice to visit and very central if you need to reconnect with nature a bit. I said that you need to visit the Votivkirche area, inside and outside, as I mentioned, with Stephansdom and Karlskirche. At the same time, I think the Votivkirche is one that you need to visit. It's incredibly beautiful. And from time to time, they actually have light spectacles. I don't know if they're on. I don't know if this year there is any. And I said that Burggasse and Neubaugasse is a great area to walk if you want a funkier, hip area with bars and small eateries and a lot of thrifting places. These are going to be the areas, Burggasse and Neubaugasse, that they're really kind of overlap. And I mentioned the Rossau area. This is a very up-and-coming area that still overlaps on the old Viennese kind of lifestyle. It's a very nice area to walk around. Now, on my list, I want to talk about classic Viennese winter experiences and skating. I adore skating in the wintertime. In Vienna, I think you can really have nice skating experiences, as I talked, at the Christmas market Rathaus or at the Wiener Eislaufverein, which is pretty central. It's next to the Intercontinental Hotel, from what I remember. I think it's the biggest ice skating ring, and they have, from what I remember from last year, they have very fun events with like silent disco or 80s night. It's very big, very nice. I totally recommend if you like skating going to the Wiener Eislauf. Then, very important to mention, museums. what museums I think you should visit. It really depends on your interest, but I have them a bit structured. So for the art section, I would definitely recommend the MAC, which is the Applied Arts Museum. Very nice. That is my favorite art museum. Then we have the MUMOC. Then we have Albertina, which I think is very nice. It's in the inner city, in the first district. It's very, very accessible. I think Albertina has the nicest temporary exhibits. Then there is in Vienna this area which is called Museum Quartier, where there are a bunch of museums specifically for art. You have MUMOC Leopold, for example. There you have the Architecture Forum, which I think is very nice. Those could be very interesting for you. I would definitely prefer MUMOC over Leopold, but it really depends on your interest. If you want to see, for example, more Egon Schiele or more Gustav Klimt, I think Leopold is better. And for interior architecture and maybe collection, I put the Kunsthistorische Museum, which it's not my favorite, but in terms of interior architecture, very nice. In the category of knowledge basic, I put the Naturhistorische Museum, which is basically vis-a-vis in front of the Kunsthistorische Museum. It's actually one of my favorite museums here because it's very fun. The collection is pretty nice. It's like natural museum. It's a natural science museum, you know, it's pretty nice. I put it the Technique Museum because in my opinion that is the most, not necessarily immersive, but I think it's very kid friendly. It's very interactive. There are a lot of interactive pieces that you can play with. It's very interesting, and I like the pad. The pad inside of the museum is very fun. I put the Military History Museum just because it gives a bit of art in time of military times or actual technical military stuff. I think it was very interesting. And my favorite and the most kid-friendly museum, the Haus des Meeres. It's in an old flakturm. They repurposed it and now it's a zoo inside a flakturm, but it's just more like it's an aquarium, a huge aquarium, a bunch of marine life forms, and they have an area which is more like tropical rainforest vibe from what I remember. This is one of my favorite museums. Please do buy your tickets in advance. Wherever you go, to whatever museums, get them in advance because otherwise you might just not find a place there. In palaces, like Schloss, that you should visit, I put Belvedere and Schönbrunn. I already talked about it. I think they're very nice palaces to visit if you can visit only one of them. I honestly think I would visit Belvedere just because it's more accessible in terms of city, and I think you'd finish it faster so you can see other things. But if palaces are really your thing or you're really immersed in this princess vibe, go to both of them. I don't know. Specialized knowledge, I put the Josephinum and Pathology Museum, which there are the medicine museums. They are one of my favorites. My sister really loves the pathology one. I think they're both very nice if you like visiting medical based museums, as well as the Contraception Museum. A very great idea of a museum. This is not pretty central as well, but I recommend to go there. It's very interesting. Again, another on the psychology area. If you're a psychology nerd, you should know that Sigmund Freud was Austrian and from Vienna. He has a museum. I think it's actually the house he lived in. I'm not sure, but it's here. You might want to visit. And then one of my favorite museums, the Furniture Museum, which is very interesting in terms of design adapted to history. Beautiful. It's very fun and very interesting. And then I have a list of fun things to see, which is still like walk based, so in your walks these are fun things to see. The Spitalau building, which is the trash incinerator, but the building, it's amazing. You don't really have a lot to do in the area, but the building is incredibly beautiful. It's designed by it was designed by Friedrich Reich Hundertwasser, great painter or like plastic artist. Great. He has a bunch of design buildings in Vienna. Love. If you like art or like funky or whimsical person, this is the most whimsical building design ever. From him, we have the Spitalau building, amazing, beautiful plant incinerator. Then we have the Hundertwasser house. So he has a Hundertwasser and Kunsthaus, both very nice to visit. Great. They even have, one of them has a museum inside. I totally recommend it. Then the Gasometer buildings. The Gasometer buildings are very interesting to see, in the area and the architecture adaptation of these old remains of architectural history. The VU campus, which is the I believe, Administration Economic University campus. Their main building was designed by Zaha Hadid, and it's an amazing campus. And the building, like, it's honestly breathtaking. Definitely recommend. If you are going a bit outside of Vienna, I recommend the Vortruba Church. This is a brutalist church, like the epitome of brutalist architecture. If you're a fan of that, the Vortruba Church, definitely. And any Flachturm. I think that you should visit around any Flachturm. Just immersing yourself in the fact that these existed during war times. The last category that I didn't really mention anything about is the eats and drinks. I will leave in the description a Google list with places that I think are worth in the coffee brunch category and the general category of eat, like what restaurants to eat. Austrian cuisine in general is not my favorite. I do have to mention, I think that Vienna has a great variety of Asian restaurants, and they're actually very, very good. I just want to point out things that I think you should order if you see them at any place you go to eat. I do think that, okay, Wiener Schnitzel, of course, people are going to eat the Schnitzel. I don't think it's wow, but the Kartoffelsalat next to the Schnitzel, like the potato salad, that is amazing in my opinion. It's the best. And then I have the sweets category for Vienna, the Kaiserschmarrn, which is basically like a sponge cake that's made, basically, that's like ripped up sponge cake fried. It's very nice. It looks like this. It's very, very good. Sake torte, which is a Viennese classic of dark chocolate cake with a thin layer of apricot jam in the middle, served with whipped cream. It's a classic. Definitely try it. I do not think it's worth to go necessarily at Zaher Hotel and eat there because it's going to be incredibly crowded in this time, but anywhere you are, I think you should try it. And poppy seeds bakeries. This is a very popular thing in Austria, and I think anywhere you are, you should try something with poppy seeds. They're very good. And yeah, in rest, I think you should just have fun. Vienna is a very, very nice city with a lot of things to offer, but you just have to keep in mind that Christmas time and the holiday period is the crowdest time you could find to visit Vienna, but you can still see very nice things. And yeah, just have fun. I hope that you found something interesting and that you feel a bit better prepared for your trip in Vienna this winter. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description with the Christmas markets, the food lists. I leave there any other kind of information that I think would be useful. And yeah, I hope that this was interesting and enjoyable, and I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you like it, dislike if you didn't. Have fun in your travels.